Welcome to the IT Career Energizer podcast. For anyone who wants to build and grow a career in IT, develop and improve your strengths and skills, be inspired and motivated by the successes of others, manage your career progression, and achieve your IT career goals. And now, your host, Phil Burgess.
Welcome to episode 131 of the IT Career Energizer podcast. My guest on today's show is Jen Bunk. Jen is a career coach for tech managers, helping them to upgrade their teams, careers, paychecks, and lives. Jen is also host of the People Stack podcast, where she interviews authors, coaches, and leaders of tech companies from around the world. So Jen, can I ask you to expand on that intro and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on, Phil. This is really exciting to talk and to chat with you. Having my own podcast, it's very cool to interview people, but it's also very cool to be on the other side of the table as well.
It is, yes.
But yeah, you pretty much hit it spot on. I am a career coach for technical managers. So what does that mean? So the folks who I help include folks in technical management positions. So tech managers, software engineering managers, IT managers, technical project and product managers, and the like. So folks who might be senior or director level, VP of engineering even, and sometimes even folks who are in data analytics or people who lead groups of scientists even. The way that I like to say it is if, the people who we help lead teams of geeks through long-term complex projects. And the career coaching side of it is that we help them upgrade their careers. And for some people, that means getting a promotion or getting a raise or both. Or some people are on the job market and they want to land that next level job to really move up in their careers. And it's really also about wanting to do this without having to work your butt off 50, 60 hours a week and having that balance in your life. So that is what we do. That is our core business where I spend most of my time. But as a side thing, it's really like my heart's mission is doing the podcast, People Stack podcast, to really just get to connect with the community and learn and grow as well. So yeah, that's where I spend most of my time.
Right. Okay. And presumably the people you talk to on a regular basis, they all have different objectives for their careers and are at different points within their careers as well.
Yep, absolutely. There's certainly, every story has its wrinkles. Everybody has their own unique story. But what kind of ties them all together is that they're all kind of feeling stuck in their career somehow. Whether it's because, I've been trying to get a promotion for X number of years and it hasn't been happening. What am I doing wrong? How can I approach this differently? Or, like I said, I'm doing okay, but okay means having to work so much that I don't have a life outside of work, or I don't have enough energy to do that. And they're all what some folks might call sort of middle management. So a middle to upper management. So I'm not an executive coach per se. So I don't work with folks who are exclusively in the C-suite, especially C-suite at bigger companies, because that's a very different kind of job than, say, being even a VP or a director level. So it's either folks who directly lead the teams of geeks, the individual contributors, or they might be a lead of leads where they're leading the managers. Like if you're a VP or a director, you're leading the managers who lead the software engineers or the data analysts or whoever that might be.
So Jen, can you perhaps share a career tip with the IT Career Energizer audience, one they perhaps don't know and should?
It's not enough to simply build your excellence. It's not enough to simply be excellent and strive to be the best and continually add value. Certainly, that's a part of it. But especially if you're looking to upgrade your career, but even if it's really just about wanting to have more of an impact where you are right now, what's also important there is to build that excellence, but also, as we call it, to evangelize that excellence as well. It's essentially self-promotion on steroids. That's when you get to really involve other people in the process and let other people know this is what I'm doing, this is what the team is doing. And it's really those two pieces, the building the excellence and the evangelizing the excellence, that come together that leads to career upgrading and also having more of an impact as well. And so many people just don't do the self-promotion, the evangelizing piece of it.
Yeah, very much so. Do you have any specific suggestions of how people should go about doing that themselves?
Great question. Very carefully is my somewhat snarky response.
Right.
And it's not so snarky because there's a really fine line. A lot of people are uncomfortable to do it in the first place because, it's to self-promote, to talk about here's the results that I've delivered, because they don't want to come off like a jerk. They don't want to come off like someone who only cares about money and results. It's about the process too, and it absolutely is. But there is kind of a fine line there. And so it really depends on the biggest challenges that you're facing around it. If you're not doing it at all, then it's about looking at why. Why is it that I believe that the results are just going to come to me without people knowing about it, right? And really taking a look at that. If it's that you've been doing it, but haven't been getting the results, then it's taking a look at, well, what can I do better? Maybe there are ways that you can communicate in a clearer way, in a more compassionate way that would resonate more with other people. So I think it really depends on where you are with that and what your biggest challenges are.
Yeah. Okay. So Jen, can you perhaps tell us about your worst career moment and what you learned from that experience?
It's about 10 years ago at this point. So, and I've been able to reflect on it. And this was actually in my previous life as an academic. So I was a college professor in my former life. I did that for about 10 years. And about 5 years into that journey, I went up for tenure and promotion. So tenure is basically, that's the academic holy grail. It's you can't fire me unless you have a really, really good reason to. It's job security. It's ultimate in job security. And then I also went up for promotion, which is it's very common to go up for both together. Tenure and promotion, getting promoted from assistant professor to associate professor. It's a whole long, drawn-out process. It takes like a year, and it involves working at different levels of the university, the department, and with the dean, with the college, and with the university level. And there's the ultimate decision is a university committee that decides: do you get tenure, and do you get a promotion? And somewhat long story, somewhat shorter. When I went up for tenure and promotion, and I was talking with my department, so first it starts at the department level, basically working with my colleagues. There was a department committee to decide whether or not to recommend me for promotion and for tenure and promotion. The bar for tenure is a little bit lower, although it's still high. The bar for promotion is higher than that. And I still remember the meeting where I was sitting with my colleagues. These are people who I work with day in and day out. They're part of this decision committee. And they basically said, okay, we looked at everything, Jen. We heard what you said, and we're going to recommend you for tenure, but not promotion. And this was a huge what just happened moment for me, because I was expecting them to fully support me for both. And when they didn't recommend me for promotion, it was almost like this out of body, what is going on here experience. Can we rewind until you tell me the real thing here? I was shocked. I was angry. And I actually remember I was just getting through the meeting and just sort of mixed emotions all throughout. And I walked out of the meeting room and I saw one of my colleagues who, wasn't involved in the process, and was like, "Hey, Jen, how'd it go?" And I was like, "I can't talk right now." Went into my office, burst into tears, talked to my husband, calmed me down, because this was like this defining moment for me that was like supposed to be the ultimate, I've made it and I've done it. And yet my department wasn't going to recommend me. Basically what happened was that the dean did recommend me for both, and so did the provost, who was kind of at the top of the university. And ultimately, with all of that evidence in place, the university committee did decide to grant me both tenure and promotion. So that is the good side of the story. But the learning moment was like, the dean knows what I'm doing. The provost knows what I'm doing and sees the value that I'm adding. Yet the people who are right in front of me, the people who I spend every single day with, don't. And I realized, looking back on it almost 10 years later, that I took that for granted. I just assumed that they knew all that I was doing, and they didn't. And so that was really kind of the worst but defining moment for me in my career that I knew I was never going to make that mistake ever again.
Right. Okay. It's definitely an interesting story. And presumably you've taken what you learned from that into your coaching career as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's where evangelizing your excellence comes from. Like I said, I learned that mistake. And so that our clients don't have to make that mistake, because so many times we just assume, oh, they know what I'm doing. I don't have to tell them. I did it. Guilty as charged, And so absolutely I learned from that, but it took some time. Honestly, I was bitter. I was very bitter and I was very mad. Just sort of, how dare they not? How dare they not recommend me? They're supposed to. It's my department. They're supposed to have my back. But when I turned it from that to what can I do? What can I do differently? What can I make sure that I not do again and take really extreme ownership of my own career? That's how I was able to turn it around. And ultimately, when I was thinking about, okay, it's time for me to move on in my academic career, that was not the reason that I did, by the way. I was a associate professor, senior member of the faculty for 5 more years after that. I absolutely loved it. And then just decided to move on and start my own business. When I was thinking about who am I going to help and how am I going to help people, that played a really important role in that.
So moving away from your worst moment, can you perhaps tell us about your career highlight or greatest success?
Yeah, and this was relatively recent. So in building our business at the People Stack, we are a coaching company. Basically, that's the industry that we're in. And last year was our 3rd year in business, and we did 6 figures last year. And this was building from nothing to year 1 to year 2 to year 3 and doing 6 figures. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the coaching industry, most coaches and consultants don't make more than $30,000 or $40,000 a year, US dollars. So to do that in our 3rd year was just a huge accomplishment, because it sort of signifies not only that this is working, but the impact that we're having, and it's resonating, and it's just so awesome to see our clients really getting the amazing results that they are.
Great. I presume you've got some good career stories from people you've been dealing with as well.
I do, and I've been doing more to share those stories as well, because as I hear other stories, I'm like, hey, maybe people want to hear the stories of our clients as well.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it felt a little weird, like, because it's a very private kind of thing, actually, to a certain respect. But especially when people are doing great, they want to share it with the world. Like, hey, look at what I did and you can do it too. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So Jen, what excites you about the future of the IT industry and careers in IT in particular?
I think because it's always changing, and I love change and I embrace change. And the best way that I can describe it that sort of makes me so excited about it is the way that we talk to our son. So we have a 9-year-old son, and of course we talk with him about, what do you want to be when you grow up? But what Rob says is, you know what, buddy, you may want to do this right now, but I want to let you know that when I was your age, when I was 9, when I was 10, what I'm doing now. So my husband now is a VP of engineering. So what I'm doing now didn't exist when I was your age. So he was 10 back in the 90s. No, the 80s. So back in the 80s, like we're old now. But back in the 80s, like this was just like, oh, wow, cool. I got my first computer. Like the concept of there being a vice president of software engineering, like what's that? So that's what's super exciting for me is the idea that it's changing and it's changing in a great way. And that we can't even predict all the wonderful stuff that's going to happen in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. I also think that there's so much opportunity as a result of that change as well.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, we're going to go into the reveal round now, which might be a little bit interesting in this instance. So we'll see how that goes. You ready for this?
Okay.
What first attracted you to a career in IT?
I've always loved tech. Like back in the 80s when we got our first computer, my parents gave it to my brother. Like my brother got a computer for Christmas. I was like, hey, I want to play too. And so I've always loved technology and always been, staying on top of the the latest technology and tech trends. And so to be a part of that community and to help the people who build the things and write the code, it just feels like so at home with me. And they're always the people that I've surrounded myself with and I feel the best with. And so it's my home, it's my community.
And what is the best career advice you've ever received?
Take extreme ownership. It's your career. It's no one else's. You're in the driver's seat.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites as well. A lot of people work for companies where they expect their careers to be looked after for them. And I don't believe that's ever the case anymore. Maybe it was 30 years ago, but careers are very different now. And I think you really have to look after your own career.
Absolutely.
If you were to begin your career again right now, what would you do?
This is an interesting question. I wouldn't do anything differently. I've loved everything that has happened in my life to this far. I would just replay it in the same way. It's just because that's based on my core beliefs of everything that happens in life happens for us and gives us those opportunities to build our strength. So I wouldn't do it in any other way.
And what career objectives are you currently focusing on?
So currently, in terms of my own career, in terms of business, is scaling the business, is taking it from, 6 figures a year and joining as what some of my entrepreneur friends call the 2 comma club. So building $1 million business. So we're absolutely on that path. And so what that means is it's going to mean scaling. It's going to mean hiring people, hiring folks to help out with sales and marketing, hiring people to help out with the coaching piece of it. And so for me, what that means is shifting from right now doing a little bit of everything, honestly, because it's really just me and my husband. It's really just me and Rob, to really embracing more of that CEO role of being the person who sets the strategic vision, still does coaching. I still want to do that, like having direct access to the clients and helping them on calls and everything, but stepping away from some of the operation stuff, like the marketing and the sales and the administrative stuff, and really being the true leader of the business as opposed to doing a little bit of everything.
Sure. So I think that the phrase people often use is working on the business rather than in the business.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like right now we're doing both, but I want to, sort of be able to step back and instead of being, sort of like caught up in all the minutia of it, being that strategic visionary leader.
Yes. And what's the number one non-technical skill that has helped you in your career so far?
What did I come up with? I thought about this one a little bit. I was like, writing maybe, but writing is still somewhat technical. Writing is very much like coding. I know enough code to get by, in terms of like software coding, but writing is like that. So that's sort of like my first answer. But in terms of the other non-technical skill, I think it's the way that I manage my time. I believe I'm naturally good at that. I have a naturally good relationship with time. I kind of know what time it is, and I like to make sure that every moment is used as effectively and efficiently as possible, and have fun doing it as well. So that's what helps me to kind of stay balanced and not just like rush through everything.
Sure. Jen, can you share a parting piece of career advice with the IT Career Energizer audience?
So I'm going to go back to the best advice that I ever received, which is to take extreme ownership, to be in the driver's seat. The other way that we look at this, if we want another metaphor, is that a lot of people, unbeknownst to them, that they're the pawns in their career. Like if you imagine your career as a chess game, they're pawns in their careers because they're just kind of letting stuff happen to them and waiting for the next opportunity to come up. But actually, you're the player. You're the one who gets to move the pieces around. So that's what I would encourage everyone to take a hard look in the mirror. And while it could be a really tough pill to swallow, I was talking with someone one time who talked about the golden handcuffs. Like he feels like he has this golden handcuffs because like I'm in this great position, but I don't really like where I work, but I'm making a lot of money, but I'm working 60-hour weeks, but I have these golden handcuffs, Jen. And then I asked him, who put them on? Who put those golden handcuffs on? And he said, yeah, wow. And guess who can take them off? Yep. And so it can be really hard to realize, well, I'm the one who put myself in this situation, but I can get myself out because I'm the player. I'm not just a pawn.
Exactly. You take that analogy further, you can say he has the key.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yep.
You may not realize that you actually have that key. It's right.
Yep.
It's right there. It's right there in front of you. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And Jen, finally, what's the best way we can find out more about you and connect with you?
So the best way to connect with me on social is on LinkedIn. So you could just send me a LinkedIn connection request. I respond to all of my connection requests, and we can start a conversation that way. And if people want to find out more about what we do at the People Stack and the kind of transformations, career transformations that we help people to achieve, you can check out our webinar. It's about an hour webinar. If you go to thepeoplestack.com/webinar, you can check that out there.
Jen, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been great chatting with you.
It's been great chatting with you too, Phil. Thank you so much.
As always, my thanks go to my guest on today's show. You'll find a show notes page for today's episode on the IT Career Energizer website, which will be itcareerenergizer.com/e and then the number of today's episode. I also want to thank you for your continued support. It's always great to hear from listeners, particularly when they have suggestions about potential guests or ways to improve the show. And this was one of the reasons for creating the new IT Career Energizer Community Facebook group. I'm really excited about taking the podcast forward, and I hope that you'll continue to support and listen to the show as it continues to change and evolve. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you're not growing your career, you're slowing your career.
Thanks for listening to the IT Career Energizer podcast. To find out more about building a successful career in IT, visit itcareerenergizer.com.